This is what it is, okay? I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Welcome to the 10th episode of the Deployment Dojo. This is a live show where we discuss setup and installation techniques using the WiX Toolset. I'm your host, Rob Mensching, and joining me today is my friend and student of deployment, David Edson. David, welcome.
Hello there.
All right, before we get started, this week is very exciting, very excited. Two reasons. Number one, it's Veterans Day, and David, you're a veteran. Thank you for your service, sir. I always appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're a better man than I. All right. The second thing is WiX V4 Preview 1 comes out on Veterans Day, which is this Friday. Very exciting. V4 has been under development for a long time, and I am super excited to finally have it out there. And Preview 1 is a little bit different than a preview. It's essentially saying we're ready to go. We know there's some bugs to fix, but this is pretty much it. Let's go get into it and things like that.
Cool.
So, in honor of that, I thought we'd take a break from our progress through learning things about deployment, and we're going to take a quick snap back in time and then look at what WiX V3 looked like and show how you can use WiX V4 to convert yourself from your V3 code to your V4 code, just kind of in preparation for getting people ready for the V4 coming out, the tooling that can help you move into from your V3 code to your V4. Does that sound interesting?
Sounds interesting.
So, David, you're going to see a lot of things that you're going to be like, wait, where did this come from? And why was this here? And you needed all of this stuff? And the answer is yes. There's been a number of simplifications in WiX 4 that I'd forgotten about that we've done. So let's go ahead and spin things up and take us into kata number 0, where we review some V3 code. Ready?
Cool. Ready.
All right, here we are, Dojo, episode 10. Now, like always, I'll bring up my Visual Studio Code here. Like always, we have a sandbox. We have a Dojo start command. I don't know how much we're going to use the sandbox today because mostly we're going to look at code. All right.
All right.
Now, I went back in time a little bit, and I thought I'd go grab our first episode and our last episode. Well, episode 8. This is episode 10. I didn't grab 9. So I grabbed episode 1 and turned it into V3 code, got it to build, and then I grabbed episode 8 and I turned it into V3 code. And I want to show you kind of how they look way back when.
Okay.
All right. Do you remember episode 1? It's so long ago, literally 10 weeks ago. Because we've been doing this every week, right? We haven't missed one.
Right. No, we haven't yet.
No, we haven't. All right. This is WiX V3 code. We haven't seen this a long time. I don't know are there things that stick out to you? It should look a little bigger. You should see this thing called product at the top, and then this thing called package here.
Yep.
In WiX 4, those have been consolidated. We have this media template thing. And you're like, what's that for? You'll notice we're missing our major upgrade here, but that's okay because that's not actually a V3 thing. That's we didn't have major upgrades at episode 1.
Okay.
All right. So there's this media template thing, and media is the way you lay out things, your cabinets and all that kind of stuff. Remember how we were creating cabinets back then? That's what that's doing for us. All right. Then we have this directory tree. Remember our spine, our bones of our system? Notice it's a little bit bigger. We've been talking about program files folder for a long time as a standard directory, one of the built-in directories. Well, it turns out that in WiX 3, we didn't call those out specially. You had to create just a directory for them, and you had to create this special directory. This is a very unique thing to the Windows installer. You had to have a target dir and a source dir. You always had to have this. And guess what? In V3, we always made you put it in. And it always had to be the top, and everything else had to be inside target dir. You didn't have to put it all necessarily right here, but it always had to end up in targeter. In
Okay.
WiX v4, it's all gone. Because you know what? You always have it. You always need it. How about we just always add it for you? So v4 does that.
Okay.
And by creating a standard directory, we made it easier to deal with program files folder. So that you can remember, you get that drop-down list of, hey, here's a standard directory. Here's the list that we know about.
Right.
V3 didn't give you any help about that. You had to know that name. You had to go search on the internet, go find it, and know that it was there. But our feature down here, this is the same. We haven't done anything different here, and that works out. And then we close with our product element. So not a huge difference. But since we have this code, let's go ahead and build it real quick. And this is the next difference I want to show you. All right, so we're in episode 1 v3. So in here, I'm going to call build. Now, how do we build in WiX?
Well, you can use the MS build or the WiX, right?
Yeah, so this is before MS build. So we're just doing the old command line thing, all right?
Okay.
So you had to do WiX build, right?
Right.
Well, back in v3, you would use one, you had to install the WiX toolset, and I've already installed WiX on this machine, and it would install into this direction. You remember how we get WiX in v4?
Well, we got it from GitHub, right?
Yeah, with a .NET tool install.
Sure.
Well, here I had to go install an MSI and everything. Here, before it was just, yeah, it's one command line, you have WiX, you're good to go. Here we go, WiX, program files, where did I install it? I type WiX, version 3.11. In the bin directory, there's this tool called Candle, which is the compiler. And I will tell it to compile our source code.
Okay.
Boom. Compiles, it said, hey, here's our version 3.11 compiled package.wxs. All right, so
Okay.
I had to install it. Now, notice, what do we want? We want an MSI, right?
Right.
No MSI. What we got is this OBJ, this intermediate format, and this is based off C++. I know you've done some C++ programming.
Yeah, it was a little bit when I was in school.
Yeah, when you're in school. I don't know if you remember that you had to do a couple commands to get all the bits and pieces together. Well, this was the compiler. It gives you this OBJ file. From the OBJ file, then you would use that and create the final output that you want. And WiX was based initially on the C compiler, because believe it or not, the C# compiler didn't exist when WiX was initially designed. And WiX 3 started with the design of the C++ compiler. So program files, WiX, we need another tool called Light, which is the linker, which will take that OBJ file, take a bunch of OBJ files if we had multiple files. We don't, we have one, and create our final MSI. Notice how it runs for a second here?
Mm-hmm.
You want to guess what the hell that time is taking there?
Is it validating?
It is validating.
Yeah.
V3 had validation built into it. All right,
Okay.
but now, hey, we have our MSI and our cab just like before.
Okay, that looks the same now.
That looks the same, right? But you had multiple commands, Candle, Light, and a longer source file. Okay?
Okay.
All right, I'm going to jump over to, now let me go ahead and delete a few of these things. RM, cab, package, WiX OBJ, package, WiX PDB. All right, we're back right where we were before when I started. Okay,
Right.
So this is episode 1. Let's look at episode 8. It's not a lot different. So here we go. Again, we have our V3 namespace, our product. Notice the product. Oh, I forgot to point out, product had a couple extra things that are just done for you automatically in WiX 4. And media template upgrade feature here. Okay, then we have this component group ref. Remember how we broke this out into separate WXS files, separate source files.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go look at our text files, which are over in our text files folder. Now, interestingly, this one hasn't changed at all. This file is exactly the same as the WiX 3 code, or V4 code and V3 code are the same, except for the namespace up here. Notice this back when WiX started as part of WiX, a Microsoft project, so it still used the Microsoft schemas directory, even though, or a URL, even though that didn't work. We've moved to wixtoolset.org now.
Okay.
All right, cool. And then we'll look at folders, and folders is pretty similar, except, hey, look, we have that targeter thing back and our program files folder back. Okay, so it's essentially episode 1, but broken down into multiple files with our two a.text. All right. Now let's go ahead and build this one. So we'll go over to episode 8 v3. And we have multiple WXX files to build. All right, so C:, program files, x86, WiX, bin, candle. First thing we do, compile the files. I'll say compile all the WXS files. Compiles them, very fast process. Boom. Now we have for episode 8 WXS, we have episode 8 WixOBJ. For folders, we have folders WixOBJ, and for text files, we have text files WixOBJ. So for each compiled file, we get an object file. It's compiled down, crunched down. What do we have to do after we compile in WiX3?
The linker thing.
The linking. We have to link those pieces together and do that. I could do start.wixobj. I'm going to do episode 8, folders WixOBJ, text files .wixobj. Those 3 parts, hook them together and build. Oh, when I specify multiple files, I have to give it a name for the final output. ep8.msi. We're building an MSI from these 3 things. Here we go. It's building the MSI. Taking a while. What takes a while?
The validation.
The validation. But there we go. We have our episode 8 and our cab 1 back again.
Okay.
All right. So there we go. A quick tour through the old days of WiX. Now, I didn't get a WiX project in here, but MS build actually was just one command, and behind the scenes, all of the work in the WiX toolset was calling candle and light in order inside all that MS build machination. So in WiX3, a lot of people never dealt with candle and light as individual tools. They just ran MS build and it ran them all in the right order. Although you certainly could use the tools. And some people did use the command line tools. Many people used the WiX project.
All right.
All right. So from that way, if you're using command line tools, they're a little different in WiX3 or in WiX4 than they are in WiX3 because now it's just one command. And that one WiX build command wraps up all the work of candle and all of the work of light minus validation. That line up, right? Compiling and linking, but no validation.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, let me clean this up. RMCAB1, episode 8 MSI, episode 8 WixOBJ, episode 8 WixPDB, folders WixOBJ, text files WixOBJ. And we're back down to our 3 WXS files, our 2 text files that we're installing, and a nice clean folder of things ready to go.
Right.
All right, so there we go. That's Kata 0. That's a flashback back to not the future, back to the past. I was trying to get a Back to the Future reference. It didn't work at all. Back to the past. All right, so I want to line us up. Now we're going to go switch over and see how you can make things new and improved in WiX3. Ready for Kata 1, David?
Sure, let's go.
All right, we're back. We're going to pick up now on episode 1 v3. Now, I could give you this and you could be like, okay, now that I've had a crash course in v3, let's go ahead and start typing and update all of this code to v4 code. And we could do that. And that wouldn't be much fun, especially if we had hundreds of files, lots of files. Because, there are some really big projects out there that have many, many, many WXS files. Here, this one, we could do it by hand. And I could, but it wouldn't be much different than typing it in from scratch. So fortunately, in WiX3, we've invested in a feature that will save you a lot of time. That is, as part of the WiX exe that we have, there's this command called convert. And what does that do? Converts your v3 code to v4 code.
Okay. You said it was in version 3. You mean it's in version 4?
This is in version 4. Yes.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying that, David. This will take your in WiX v4 in wix.exe. It will convert. You can run convert and it will update your WXS file. And by default, it overwrites it. You can do a -n and it will tell you all the work it has to do. But you know what? I have the file over here in Visual Studio Code on the left so we can see it. And if I run this, WiX convert will update this into a WiX4 command for us 100%. One big go. Ready?
Ready.
Watch here on the left, because that's where all the magic happens. Okay, spits out a lot of information. All these are information commands here. If I make this really long, will it short? Oh, look at that. Oh, can I get it all fit on one? Some of these messages are very long, but it's telling me, hey, on these lines, just so you know, just some information as things I did, we converted the namespace. We converted, this is unnecessary. We converted, that's no longer, that's the default. You don't need that. We converted this, so on and so forth. So it's telling us all the work that it did that we would have done by hand. And here's what it gave us back. Our code shortened up. Now it does kind of, doesn't maintain the white space on our attributes a little bit. All right. But look, it changed product to package.
Right.
It changed our directory tree to standard directory. And it kept our feature tree as it was. Here, I made some heads. Okay, so here we go. If I hit Control Z here, I will undo the change it did, and then I can go forward. Undo, redo. Undo, redo. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it left a little bit of extra white space that we can clean up. So I'm going to go ahead and let it do that and clean this up. And you can see the whole thing I want you to see here is how easy it is for it to just, boom, fix everything. Let's go ahead and prove that it works. What do we do now? WiX build, one single command line, package.wxs, go. Builds very quickly. And then, should we bring up the sandbox? Let's bring up the sandbox.
Sure.
We'll install it real quick.
Yeah. It's pretty quick to come up.
Yeah, just gotta wait for it to swing. Doo-doo. Oh, it's being slow.
Yeah, I say that, and then
And then it's slow. It hurt you.
Yep.
Oh, do I have a bug somewhere? In my dojo.wsb? Map folders, map folder. We're checking that again.
Yep.
It wouldn't be the first time. Decon episode 10. That's where we're at. Episode 10. Oh man, sandbox is stuck.
Sandbox, map folder, map folders.
Only
it
one
looks good.
I don't know why it's being slow here. Oh, there it is. I just had to bump it. There we go. Sandbox, hey, and our batch file ran. That opens all these windows for us. We'll go into episode 1v3 that we just converted. We will run our MSI, and it will install in the program files. Back then, we were calling it Dojo Kata 1. Refresh. There it is. Boom. Successfully installed the a.text. This is a.text.
Awesome.
All right, so that's nice. That's how you convert one file, one simple little file. Let's go ahead and say, all right, what if I had more? What if I had 3? All right, I'm just going to show you here. This is scale. All right, so if you have 1, yeah, it does that. Let's look at episode 8v3, and we're going to see. Can I open? Open. All right, there we go. Oop. And open. There we go. I'm going to bring this one over here and there we go. Okay, now we can see all 3 of these files all squished together.
Okay.
All right, so then I'm going to bring up the converter. Slide him down a little bit so we can see the work while it does it. WiX convert star.wxs. Okay, it's going to modify these files in place. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Boom. Our folders got shortened to the standard directory. Control Z. Got rid of targeter because that's built in now. Standard directory. This, I think, it just, what did it do? Yeah, it just added a couple IDs for us for backwards compatibility's sake, which is nice of it. And then over here, it did the same thing. It cleaned up the white spaces, left a major upgrade, all that kind of good stuff. So you can see how easy it is to convert your V3 code to V4, and then straight away WiX build it. Oh, I have to specify the out when I have multiple files. ep8.msi. There are 2 text files at episode 8, episode 8a and episode 8b. Good.
Right.
All right, we'll bring up the Dojo. See if the Dojo spins up a little faster this time. Yeah, it did. You know, I think I took an OS update overnight, so maybe the sandbox needed to get updated to that.
Ah, I see.
So it was just taking a second to get there. All right, we just did episode 8 v3. be able to see this window here to the side. Episode 8 v3, install the MSI, running. There's episode 8 with our 2 text files.
Cool.
All right, so that is the way to convert code. That's the lesson for today. Let's go do a little bit of sparring. We could talk about it.
Sure. Looks pretty straightforward.
That's the goal, to be very straightforward. Very simple, bring it up, slam it all together, and then do a build and get your new MSI off of new tooling. Now, there are some things that it can't convert perfectly, and you'll get errors or warnings spitting those out saying, hey, we couldn't convert this for you automatically. You'll need to do the work to do that by hand. There aren't many of them, and they're usually patterns that are not ideal to have implemented in the first place. Not that you didn't do it, but if you did, it'll point you in the direction, say, hey, you need to handle this particular case on this line number yourself to fix it up.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Other things, David, things that we should talk about.
I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine a problem, right? Because I haven't used it enough to to think of one.
We've done so many simple things so far. Well, I want to go back too, like other things in the past to talk about, like other things that might have come up, things that I'd be like, oh, how about this that we could have talked about before? What do you think for a second? I want to point out that this is WiX 4 Preview 1 Build 590. There's a very, very high chance that Build 590 is the exact same thing for that will ship as Preview 1 on Friday. Like, I think we may have everything built in, done.
Okay.
All right, so Zach just asked, does WiX 4 have any built-in support for putting WiX libs and NuGet packages? No. WiX 4 does not do anything with NuGet packages today, so you'll have to write your own mechanism to put WiX libs and NuGet packages. I know some people do that because they find it interesting to take a WiX lib, build a bunch of setup code, put it in NuGet, and then you can use that NuGet in other parts of your system. Now, when you do that, Zach, I will say that WiX 4 can do package references to them. So referencing those NuGet packages is much easier, should just work in WiX 4, where it required a little bit of package config and other funky stuff before. But in V4, that should just be very seamless with package references. All right. Martin asked an question, can V4 still make WiX libs? Yes, absolutely. Let's go ahead and build a WiX lib, David.
Yeah, what is a little bit of a tutorial on a WiX lib?
Yes, that's a fantastic question. What is a WiX lib? So far, we've been building MSIs because that's what we're most interested in. But let's say we're building little chunks of code, of WiX code that we need to ship to other teams. Let's say that we weren't dealing with the episode 8. We weren't building a package here. All we were responsible for is building this component group, and someone else was responsible for putting that into the appropriate MSI, right? So think about a team of hundreds of developers. I have my set of files. I need to say where they go and all that kind of stuff. Someone else is responsible for deciding which SKUs they show up in. Is it in the professional or community or enterprise? Whatever, all that kind of stuff. So you're splitting responsibilities. To do that, you can say, look, I want to build my little chunk of the world, but not a full MSI, so I can then send my chunk of code pre-compiled to somebody else, so they don't have to compile it again and have all my files and all that kind of stuff. That is a WiX lib. It's a pre-digested piece of your setup code that you can ship off to somebody else. And I can do that right here. So let's go ahead and build that. WiX build star.wxs, and we're going to say output episode 8.wixlib. Simply by using the new extension wixlib, it will create a WiX lib for us instead of an MSI. WiX libs don't have PDBs because they're not a final output or anything like that. They're just a tiny little, they're actually a zip file is what they are. All right, ready?
Okay.
Exciting, right?
So you made a WiX lib, but it actually encompasses all those WiX files right now.
Correct. So now I could either send to somebody all these WXS files and say, here, take these 3 files and compile them. Or I could say, here, compile something and use my WiX lib.
Okay.
Right. Actually, you know what? Let's I could hack this a little bit. Yeah, so Bob wants me to bring up bind files. Do you want to hack this a little bit? Do we want to go advanced?
I mean, we can.
All right. I'm going to drop here. All right. So Martin and Bob are bringing up the two problems with the things that I was just talking about. All right. So we're going to hack around here a little bit, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to create...
And you're going for the example that you're changing just the text files WXS right now. Is that still...
I am going with this example. I'm going to say I own episode 8, episode 1. There. I am team 1.
Okay.
Okay. And we have team setup. All right. So then we have team setup. And team setup is responsible for the package element and the folders.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Move that. All right. Let's close all these. Did it open the right files for me? Maybe it did. All right. Here we are. We are hacking our way through it. This is bonus time. This is sparring. This is David's bulked up a little bit. He's ready to go take some swings at it. All right.
Right.
So team 1. Okay. Put our team 1 hat on. We are going to go in as team 1. Where am I? I'm episode 10 hacking. All right. I am team 1. No, I'm not team setup. Team 1. Let's bring this back up the top. Team 1, what do they care about? They care about getting this text files right here, these two text files off and available to somebody else, and they know that they want to be put in install folder. They're not worried about saying where install folder is. They just know that they want it in install folder, right? So they talk to team setup and said, hey, we want to be our stuff in install folder. Where is that? They're like, all right, the name of install folder's ID is install folder. I'm like, great, we want to put our stuff in there. So they say, we want to use install folder, and here's our 2 files. So we're good to go. And you can imagine there being many more files, much more complicated, but this is good for us now.
Yeah,
all right. So as team 1, we WiX build everything here, and we're going to output team1.wixlib. And when I build this, not star. I told it to build everything. Build star.wss. There. Now we have team1.wixlib. Okay. Now, one of the things that Martin brought up, the problem is that team1.wixlib is just this pre-compiled. Now we actually have to send them these 2 files and our wixlib.
Oh,
that's kind of annoying, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. That's not good enough. We can do better. We're going to do WiX build all of our source code, and we're going to tell it to bind files. That says, hey, WiX, take all the files that you need and put them inside this wixlib. So you saw this wixlib was 553.
Yep.
Hopefully.
So it includes the files now. Okay.
857. So it's bigger. Okay.
Okay.
So now I have a wixlib. Team 1 is good to go. All right. Now we need to go over to team setup. Team setup. Now we're team setup. Okay. These guys are going to build everything in here. Dash out. Episode 8. MSI. We're building an MSI. We are the setup team. We get to put all this stuff in the package, right?
Right.
Go. Team 1 needs to give us those text files. We need that. Oh, where is it? Oh, all right. Well, let's say we get it from them. And they said, hey, by the way, it's over in this team 1 folder. All right. Team 1.wixlib. That's everything you need, right?
Right.
Yep. All right. Cool, team. Thank you. Go. Setup team. Here's our wixlib. Everything you need. Go. Boom. And now we have an MSI. That if we install it, I still have the Sunbox running. Hey, the sandbox is still running. Let's go ahead and install it. Uninstall the old one. Dojo, Windows, episode 10 hacking, team setup, episode 8. There it is.
Better have both the files in there.
And both of the files are there. So team 1 has delivered everything they needed to ship their stuff over to the other team. Can WiX v3 do this? Yes. WiX v3 has this exact same functionality. This is not new to v4. Now, Zach says in v3, I think there's an issue where Visual Studio extension will open wixlib for updating the files open. Yeah, so Zach's talking about some cases where when you're running Visual Studio, it likes to hold on to files and give it in our build and all those kind of things. Zach, we have now made in WiX 4, the build process always runs out of proc with MS build, which should alleviate a lot of those holding on to files issues, because The MS build process starts. You do your WiX thing, and then the WiX process ends, even though MS build keeps going. So it hands off to a separate process, which may hold on to files while it's running. When it's done building the MSI and all that, it should drop all the files, and MS build then continues on its merry way, saying, well, the WiX exe has built all this stuff. I'm good to go. We will continue on with the rest of the process. Where before, lots of that happened inside the MS build processes. All right, David.
Okay.
I think that's episode 10. I think we've kind of got some things going. We poked at some cool new features, some things like that. And the big thing is there is WiX Convert. Now, one of the things you notice that we didn't convert, MS Build. We left all that stuff out. So we're out of time here, just fine. We'll come back in episode 11, and let's go ahead and we'll do a little bit to show how we do all of this with episode 9, where we had WiX projects, episode 9, and then we'll add some new features to our ever-growing vocabulary of deployment knowledge.
Cool. Sounds cool.
All right. Until then, we have a very exciting Friday. It'll probably be late on Friday, late on Pacific time, probably late. So look at it for the weekend or pick it up early next week. We'll be back next Wednesday, same time, same place. Honestly, I'm not coding a lot. I'm just kind of doing documentation, which is the best place to be when you're trying to ship. But plenty of documentation, right? Next week, as you can't tell, I'm very excited about Friday. It's been a long time coming. Friday. Next Wednesday, we'll talk about something new, something fun, and probably a little bit of a reveal of some cool new stuff. Until then, you guys take it easy and have a fantastic Veterans Day, David.
Thank you. Bye.